Erika Zini presenta Bookmania.
Interviste, anticipazioni e consigli di lettura per il tempo libero.
Go tell a friend.
Bookmania, dove il libro è protagonista.
Un saluto a tutti e bentornati all'appuntamento con i libri. Oggi parliamo di un romanzo che ci è piaciuto davvero molto, un romanzo che non riuscivamo a appoggiare, l'abbiamo letto in un giorno solo, e si intitola Uomo con gabbiano sulla testa, libro scritto dalla scrittrice inglese Harriet Paige, pubblicato da 8 edizioni. Un romanzo davvero particolare, ne parleremo direttamente con lei. Thank you, Harriet, for being here. It's a very pleasure.
Thank you.
This is your first book translated in our country, and we are curious to know you better. How start your passion in stories?
Well, actually, I was never much of a reader as a child, interestingly. My sister was a great reader. She was reading all the time. And so maybe because of this, I saw myself as, not a reader. But I did spend a lot of time in my imagination. That was my world. That's where I like to be. I was always comfortable by myself in my own imaginary world. So maybe this was more of a preparation for writing than reading, definitely in childhood. And then I came to reading probably a bit later. I mean, when I was at school, I discovered I could write. It was something I was praised for by teachers. So and I really liked that process of trying to articulate myself in words and just trying to craft and fashion something that was something that was simple, something that was beautiful, like using the words as a craft. So I suppose I just naturally then took that, that was the thing that I could do and that I enjoyed doing. So I then studied literature at university, and it was there really that I kind of just started to have ambitions towards writing, because number one, I was by that stage reading a lot more. And there was I read the novels of Toni Morrison. They in particular just brought me an understanding of the possibilities of words. They just really excited me. They were like nothing I'd read before. The way the words just seemed to kind of dance on the page. They just seemed to be alive in some way, not in a way that was necessarily highly showy and stylistic, but a way that managed somehow to get beyond the words to some kind of some kind of mystery of the human soul, I suppose. And it just really excited me to the possibilities of language. So that was definitely her writing, which inspired me. And I then wanted, to me, to be able to write a book was would be the most wonderful thing that one could do. So I then took courses in creative writing, and it kind of went from there. And I started to, be praised for my writing. I discovered that I could put something out there. People would responded to it, and then that's all I needed really to keep going. So I mean, I've never been actually much of a storyteller. I don't think I'm naturally someone who's very good at telling stories. I'm not very articulate when I talk. I'm not someone who's in a group of people always telling stories. So I had to kind of develop that, and that's not something that perhaps comes naturally to me. It's more like the power of the words to get at something. And I felt that was something, every artist has their own way of getting at that something they feel, whether it's words or paint or whatever it might be. And I knew that my way was words. And that's I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, and your writing is very amazing. We read this book in one day. We couldn't tear ourselves away from him. So there is the power of words that you said in your answers. And your story started from a weird fact. A seagull fall upon a man sitting on a beach. This simple fact will change the life of a lot of people. What's the genesis of this story? What inspired you in writing it?
Well, I can trace it back, the genesis of the story, I can trace back to something quite specific, and but something quite small. It was just something that sparked my interest and my imagination when I was just listening to the radio one day, just in the background, you know, just happened to hear it. And somebody, maybe a psychologist, I can't even really remember, was talking about memory. And he was talking about how most of what we see or perceive, most of what we perceive, we instantly forget, because our brains are not able, and nor would it be possible or desirable for them to take in every single sensory experience that comes our way, that we're, you know, always selecting. And for some reason, this just got me thinking, because I'd never really thought about this before. And I started to think, oh, what if the brain did take everything in? What if we did remember everything, or if we could perceive everything that there was before us? Maybe in this hypothetical and very unrealistic situation, maybe we'd be able to kind of see something beyond, something that we can't usually tap into, but something maybe we sense is there behind our everyday experience of life. And this is what sparked the idea off. And from there, I just started to think about it. You know, it just took seed in my mind, and it went its own way, you know, from that little seed of interest. But definitely that was the starting point. And then because I knew it wasn't really a realistic scenario, I wanted just the accident to be something quite bizarre and fantastical, a little funny, something that you could just suspend your disbelief, and you could just accept that this happened, you know, without question. I didn't want to go into the whys and the wherefores or the possibilities or any kind of science behind it. I just wanted to say this happened. So I'd think, okay, something falls from the sky, just basic and silly in its way.
And it's ironic. Art is also a strange thing. Art is everywhere in your book. It seems that you want to answer this question. What is art? Where does the inspirations come from? Is that so?
Yes. To me, yeah. As I started off with this idea, which wasn't really anything about art exactly, to me, to start with, it became more and more about that. And the book became more and more about maybe the process of writing and my experience of being a writer or an artist or trying to express something. And to me, maybe visual artist is a way of looking at, if you think of I think of a visual artist being somehow a bit more direct than than writing books. You know, it's more of a direct artistic experience and expression. So that to me was how I wanted to explore it. And yeah, because I think the artist, any artist, is looking at life, but looking at it in a way that we want somehow to get beyond it, or looking at a person and wanting somehow to get inside. It's something of exploring some mystery of life, not just what's there on the surface. I think any artist, whatever medium you're exploring it in, must have this expansive view and experience of life, really.
And all your characters are in search of something. We could say this thing would be the art, but I think they're only searching their way to express themselves. Too often we are scared to show the real us to others. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I wanted all the characters, you're right, all the characters are searching in some way, and that was obviously very deliberate on my part. I suppose I wanted that all the book to work as a whole, so that all the characters kind of came together to express different aspects of the central idea. But this idea of there being a real self, I suppose, I wanted the idea that it's very difficult to discover one's real self, is perhaps as mysterious as discovering the real nature of life. So I wanted not so much characters that were unable to express their real self, but perhaps characters who weren't quite sure what their real self was, and that Ray sees in Jennifer something which she doesn't see herself, but which, when expressed, kind of draws her and pulls her somewhere that she's yearning to go.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, there are a lot of memorable characters in your book. There is one you are more affectionate to?
I don't think necessarily, but probably if I had to choose, I'd say I feel most connected to Jennifer, probably. I feel maybe I got to know her the best throughout the book. But to be honest, I like all of them. I don't think so. I very much enjoyed writing the parts with Grace. Lots of people have said they don't like her as a character at all, but I hate to think that it seems that I'm kind of satirizing her, or satirizing even the art world necessarily, because that wasn't really my intention. I think I'd find it, I never write about any character that I don't love in some way. I think for me, I have to love all of them. So I'd probably say Jennifer was the one I felt most connected to, but I think Grace is the one I most enjoyed writing. Yeah.
And Jennifer is at the center of the book because it's the inspiration for Ray and the pictures he designed. And Jennifer is also near our Italian reader because she married an Italian man, Vito. And in the book we cannot say too much, but she married Vito, and at the same point his mother from Italy will stay with them. What is your feeling with Italy? You have been there?
My connection with Italy is my husband is half Italian, so I have a small connection through him. So the most simple answer to your question is I chose Italy, and I wanted Jennifer to be married to someone who was from another country, so that there was that slight distance already inbuilt into their relationship, that slight difficulty of communicating, because it expressed something that I wanted to express about the impossibility of us really connecting with each other. Yeah, this idea again of reality being obscured slightly. So him being a foreigner to her helped me in that way. It helped. So I chose him to be Italian simply because I had some experience. I know some Italians, and my father-in-law is Italian, and I just have a little bit or more experience than I would have with choosing someone from a different nationality. So I've been to Italy a fair number of times, but I wouldn't profess to have like a deep understanding or knowledge of the country, but I have a little insight through my in-laws.
There's a little bit of Italy, and we appreciate it. And I think your book is also a story about coincidence and how all of us can change other life, even without knowing it. That we all are connected, as you said before. Sometimes we don't have the courage to take decisions, but it works the same. What do you think about coincidence?
Yeah, I wanted more, perhaps, maybe to have an idea of fate rather than coincidence, I'd say.
Yes.
But not clearly, like everything else in the book. I wanted some sense of a pattern of yes, I suppose some kind of fatalistic view. But at the same time, I didn't want that pattern to totally connect. So, I wanted the fact that the seagull landed on Ray's head, not necessarily to be a coincidence, but he was chosen in some way. But at the same time, like I say, I wanted that sense of it not to be neat, not to be a neat view. So to be a sense of a pattern, but to be obscured in some way. So which is why at the ending, they're all brought together, not so much by coincidence, but they're drawn together by something else. But at the same time, they don't meet. Okay, so that was very important to me as an ending, that they're all drawn together, but they never connect on a level that they're aware of. They connect on some other level, if that makes sense.
Yes. The reader will take this stance, surely. Finally, what would you like the reader will take with them after finishing read your book?
For me, I think I'd like them to take what I take when I read a book that speaks to me, which is not easy to sum up in words. It's hard to say what exactly you'd want them to take, but I'd like them just to go away from the novel feeling expanded in some way. When I read a book that I love, I have that feeling. I couldn't put it into words what the book has done to me or said to me exactly, but I feel somehow expanded and taken beyond, or shown something that I felt I already knew, but I didn't quite know the words to express it. I think that's what I would hope for.
It's very interesting. And at this point, we have to thank you for this interview. It was a pleasure to hear you talk about this book we loved. So we can say to our TV show viewers that is recommended this book, Uomo con gabbiano sulla testa, just published here in Italy. And I let you one last time the microphone if you wanted to send a message to your Italian reader.
Oh, just it's a great honor for me that it's been published in Italy. It means a lot to me because, like I said, I have a little family connection in Italy, and it's nice that I'll be able to give the book to my father-in-law and various people, and they'll have to read it now. They had an excuse before. So it's a great honor for me to be published in Italy, and I hope you enjoy the book. I don't know. I hope you take something from it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Erica.
Erika Zini presenta Bookmania.
Interviste, anticipazioni e consigli di lettura per il tempo libero.
Go tell a friend.
Bookmania, dove il libro è protagonista.